Today, I want to talk to you about the sense of psychic smell, what I call clairolfaction, the ability to smell beyond the physical realm. Hello, my friends. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy our time together. Clairolfaction is the ability to smell things with your inner senses, your things that are not physically present around you. Well, I'm going to start with a story, of course. One of my former students went apartment hunting, and they had, after this class, been very keen on making note of any fleeting smells that came to their awareness. They were ready to sign a lease for the perfect place. Like they saw this place and they just thought it was the perfect apartment for them. And when they went to sign the lease, all of the sudden they started smelling rotten eggs out of nowhere. Nowhere. So they were like, "Could you smell that? Could you smell that?" Now the realtor couldn't smell it, right? And so they decided at the last minute, they were like, "You know what? You can't smell this, but I can smell this. So there is something foul or off about this space." And they decided not to sign the lease. And then what they did, my former client, is then continued searching, and they found a better place, an even better place for a better price, all the amenities that they wanted and everything. And it was perfect. And it was all because they just noted this little smell of rotten eggs. And then they were like, "You know what? You can't smell it. It doesn't have a physical existence. I'm smelling it psychically. This must be a message." And thank goodness, isn't that great? So don't be surprised with your sense of psychic smell or clairolfaction if no one else can smell the smell. All right? Because it is on a soul level and not everyone in the room will be able to smell it. And don't be surprised if the scent or the smell is localized to a particular area in the room. Let's say if you're in a room and you can literally step out of the space and there's no smell, and step back into the space a foot away, or a half a step away, and there's the smell again. It's pretty fantastic to me. It's a pointed way for spirit to get a message across. Oftentimes, loved ones will come with the smell they're associated with, and it might be their first method of contact to get your attention. So, I don't think I've told you this story. I'm going to tell you this beautiful story. There's this beautiful young man. I'm just going to use first names. His name is Ryan, and he was on the other side. And I was in my then house, and I was upstairs in a loft area working on my computer, writing out my Reiki manuals because I was just in the beginning of my work as a teacher in Reiki. And I remember quite vividly, I'm typing away, and I get this cologne out of nowhere. And I was like, whoa, it was really strong. I knew this was like, I didn't have cologne upstairs. So I knew it was coming from spirits. What I would tell new students is close your eyes and put your hands on your heart. But I just asked in my head, who's there? And immediately I heard the name Ryan. And I said, "Okay, Ryan, what do you want?" And he said, "Listen, my mom's going to call. And I just know that when you're working on your computer, you don't answer the phone. And she really wants to connect with me. So I'm asking you to please just answer the phone." And so I was like, "Okay, no problem, no problem. I'll answer the phone." Then I typed maybe like one more sentence and the phone rang. And sure enough, it was his mother. And so we booked a session. It was just so beautiful. Like it was just so beautiful that he came through that clearly with the cologne, right? So funny. And so had I blown that off and just kept typing, I would have missed the contact. I would have missed the connection. So he did not make his presence known by a bright light in the room or talking to me. He just showed up with his cologne. And with that, I had to say, okay, recognizing it wasn't in my physical space, I had to recognize like, oh, this is from beyond. Who's here? And then the conversation ensued. And then one thing led to another, as it does in spirit world. So it was really helpful that I stopped and noticed the cologne. I've already told you about the story of when I was teaching that woman a one-on-one Reiki class, and when I was using my husband on the treatment table as the body on the table, and only at the end of the table could you smell those chocolate chip cookies. I pulled the gal over to come to that end of the table, and I said, "What do you smell?" And she was like, "Chocolate chip cookies." And then I was like, "All right, close your eyes, tune in, and ask who's here." And that was when she said, "His mother." She's saying his mother. And then she saw the mother and she's like, "I don't believe it." I said, "Okay, why don't you believe it?" And he said, "'Cause the mother's short and this guy's tall." And I said, "No, no, the mother was short." And then, the whole delivery of information happened. But then my husband at the end said, "That was all right and good, but you got the cookies wrong. My mother used to make oatmeal raisin cookies." And I said, "Well, that's fabulous, but I don't care for oatmeal raisin cookies as much as I love chocolate chip cookies." And so she was trying to get my attention, not yours, honey. So it was so cute. So isn't that fabulous that spirit can make that happen? Some people believe that it's an evolved sense of the ability of the spirit to send a smell or even a taste, which I'll get into after clairolfaction. I just want you to know, though, that when they're trying to get your attention, it might match up in a different way to them, but they're just trying to use smell to get it across to you. I also have another beautiful story. I was teaching a large group of people to connect with realms of spirit, higher realms of spirit, actually talk to God, go up and through the angelic and go high. And while I brought them into meditation, something happened to one woman, which actually often happens, right? On their way up in that space. And up just is that vibratory awareness, the frequency of being, really, because we're in such density of third dimension here, but in astral, it's the higher realms via various dimensions. And this one woman, when I brought them into meditation, all of a sudden started crying and crying. She smelled fish, like really fish, 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 fish. And it was her brother, who was a fisherman, who had passed tragically in an incident while fishing. And it was the first way that he was trying to get through to her, to tell her how he was doing. It was really powerful. You could see the experience play out on her face, and the mix of grief and love and surprise and sadness too. It was pretty powerful, that sense, the smell, the clairolfaction of the fish. And so sometimes when you're closing your eyes and going in with the intention to get to the higher realms of spirit, because you're going into that space of, heaven, if you will, or higher vibration, or the other realms, or the awareness of life beyond, you will you might bump into the people that want to talk to you, and they might notice that you're going into a meditative state and come forward to connect with you. And one of those ways might be through sense of smell. So just be paying attention, right? When you bring your awareness to the realms, that maybe there's someone that is there that is sending along a sense of smell. Some people in the psychic world also say it's the hardest psychic center or soul awareness to develop. I don't really think that. I just think that it's just another way of getting our attention, and probably some people brush it off. They smell something and then they just keep moving about their day and they miss an opportunity. Some say that when you smell roses or jasmine, it's the higher realms of spirit. Those of you that work with Mother Mary energy, or Mother Mary works with you, she's often coming in with the smell of roses. It's pretty powerful. I remember doing a kind of a psychic round table of just helping people understand the different ways they receive spirit communication, or their own soul is trying to evolve, whether it's through the awareness of dreams or using dowsing or any kind of tool of divination to get connected. And how do you receive your information? That's always my favorite question. How do you know that spirit's contacting you, and how do you get your information, whether for your own soul's purpose or mediumship or talking to a loved one on the other side or getting information and delivering them to others? So I was having this roundtable discussion, and I remember during it we decided to kind of break up into different areas of the room, and there's this cluster of women, and they were like, "Oh my God, it smells like roses over here." here. Oh my gosh. And it was just this giant warehouse of a space, if you will. And over in this certain area, there's no flowers around or anything. It was full on roses. So I was like, wow, tune into that. And you had to step into the space to smell it and then step away. So it was definitely Mother Mary energy. They were definitely Mother Mary fans. So she was coming around, and I believe they sat in meditation and just sat in stillness to sit with Mary to get whatever divine inspiration that was coming to them as women and mothers and whatnot. I think one of my most hilarious mediumship reads was over the phone. I can say hilarious because to me, death is so near to life, right? I mean, they're all gallivanting and having quite the time over there. I'm like, can you tell me more? And they're like, no, you wouldn't comprehend it. But it's not as heavy for me because of how I coexist with them so often, those that are on the other side. So, one of my favorite mediumship sessions was with this woman named Susie, and her dad came through. And right away, I was like, oh my God, there was cigarette smoke in my room. It was everywhere in the room. Like, I was like, holy moly. It just was smelled like smoke. I almost like started coughing. I was like, "Oh my god, this guy is smoking on the other side." So I knew that's what he was doing. He was smoking, right? Listen, I don't get that they can actually smoke, but he was giving me the impression that he was a smoker. Yeah, you knew that was coming, right? And she was like, "Oh my god, I'm smoking. Do you want me to stop smoking?" And I said, "No, no, no." But I said, "He's smoking." She goes, "Oh yeah, he was a chain smoker." So it's just so funny. And I'm like, and then at the end of the session, because it was so powerful and beautiful, she goes, "Can we do this again?" I said, "Yeah, give it some time though, but I'm going to tell him no smoking in my office, dude. No smoking." Do you remember back when we did the morning favorite beverage exercise and I was having you smell the coffee or smell the tea or hot chocolate? It was because I was trying to work with you to develop that sense of imaginal realm smells. Sometimes in my meditations, when I put myself in a garden and just surround myself in that space, I imagine smelling the flowers. Or if I'm sitting, imagine myself, I'm from Iowa, the Iowa soil, the good soil, not the not the processed soil, but the real true dark black rich soil that's so gorgeous. It smells so great. I have such vivid memory, smell, scent memories. And so sometimes when I've had scary places, like there was a woman I didn't really care for when I was growing up, and she used to use Jergens hand lotion, right? So when I smell that, I'm like, ugh, this is something's not right here. This is not for my best good. And I do think that that's my soul. I think that in those moments, we're sending our self messages, but also it doesn't have to be us, right? It could be guardian angels or our guide, but it could be our higher self, could be messages from spirit realm. But I invite you to kind of notice when you have these ethereal smells come in that maybe no one else can smell, or, when you're in a random place, maybe you're driving and there's a smell and you're like, whoa, I'm in the middle of nowhere driving and I'm getting smells that would obviously have no physical connection. And go into it, enter into it. Like, what is this trying to bring me to? What is this trying to trigger in me? What is this trying to have me process or work through? So sometimes I find that smells definitely can be associated with people that are on the other side that are coming forward to deliver messages or check in on me or definitely bring their love. But it can also be coming at me for a soul lesson. So that's why I'm supposed to follow the soul lesson. Like, what is this? What's this about? What is this reminding me of? What am I supposed to do with this, or where am I supposed to take it? And that's why, again, it's that first thing where you're recognizing that you have a smell coming from seemingly nowhere and wondering perhaps maybe it is coming to your soul sense for a reason. Really, that stuff doesn't happen without a reason. And so to take the time to go into it, enter into it. Maybe it's someone you know, maybe it's someone you don't know. And just to explore that. What would be a homework assignment? Well, if you notice any random smell, then follow it and go, who's here? Or what's that about? Or what does it remind me of? And what is my soul aching for me to process or think about or remember, maybe for my own joy, benefit, or healing, or soul purpose. You could also, like I said, go into deeper meditation where you imagine yourself in places that has a nice memory of smell and really put yourself in that scene as you close your eyes and walk down that lane and smell the trees or dad's banana bread baking. These are all things that as you exercise that in your imagination, in your own imaginal realm, you will be more prone to work with it when it comes to you or at you from beyond, whether it's from spirit or your own soul. That's what I invite you to consider, to work on clairolfaction. Doesn't happen a whole lot in my experience for me, but when it happens, it's pretty powerful in that it has meaning behind it. Doesn't always mean that it's strong, but sometimes it is fleeting. You got to recognize it's happening and not let it just pass you by, because then it's a missed opportunity. Yeah. So there you have it. Clairolfaction can happen for various reasons. It's a message from your soul to yourself in regards to a decision about to be made, like the rotten eggs. Or maybe that was her guardian angel or spirit guides or a loved one on the other side that's in it. It can also happen to let you know someone is around, like the cologne or the cookies or the cigarettes. It could also happen when you're just chatting with someone and you get some impressions coming up that maybe pertain to their life. Maybe you've gotten that vague look and you're just kind of wondering about exercising your newfound skills with your soul awareness, and you're kind of focusing in on the other realm of smells that you might be picking up, not their physical smells, but smells from the spiritual essence, the soul's journey, whether current or past. I remember one time giving a read on someone, and the whole read, I was like, oh my God, I'm sure they work in a farm, because I just smelled like hay, and it was a lot of horse energy, smelled like horses because I've worked with horses. So I'm like, I know that smell. It was clear that he was a musician, but I was like, listen, I just have to tell you, when I'm with you right now, I just keep getting this scent of horses and smells of farm and hay. And he's like, oh my God, I only wish. And this was a love that he had not addressed. And so it was, passion. And so I said, I just invite you, maybe not take it on as a career if that's what you're saying. You can't. But what about volunteering or just hanging out at barns and whatnot? He called back months later and said, I took your idea and I did do some work and I'm totally loving it. I was volunteering mucking stalls, and I'm like, been there, done that. So, it was just this impression that had I not dove into, it was the only way that I was getting that information about him was through the sense of smell. So, just to be open to what you pick up around other people when you're talking to them, and see what might happen, and just ask, hey, does this, if you're not giving a reading, but if you're just visiting with someone, say, hey, there's this aura, this energy, this sense of smell around you. Do you understand what that means? Does it mean anything to you? And have them, if they can't peg it right away, have them close their eyes and go back in their, research their memory banks, because smells are really fine-tuned in our memory and images and experiences. And so, it could be associated with that. Just lovely. Just try it out. Okay, my friends, that's where we're going to stop. I just really am asking Spirit to send you some experiences for clairolfaction so you could work that psychic muscle of soul awareness, because it's just great fun, right? It's just so beautiful, but it can be fleeting. So you're going to have to pay attention, just enter into it. Who's around? What am I supposed to get from this? What's the message for me? Because there's always a greater awareness that's happening, and it's just your soul picking up some other realms of experience that are coming towards you to give you information, even if it's just delving into the joy of a past memory. Sometimes when I smell banana bread baking, it's my dad from the other side saying, come visit with me. And so I close my eyes and take the time to sit in his energy and presence. And, sometimes we don't chat, we just send the love. So I invite you to just pay attention to the subtle sense of smell and clairolfaction. You've been listening to Soul Awareness with Constance Messmer. It has been a pleasure, as always. Thanks for tuning in. Legally speaking, this podcast is presented solely for educational, spiritual, and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for medical diagnosis, treatment, or the advice of a physician, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. You should not use this information to diagnose or treat a health problem or condition. Always check with your doctor. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. If you've enjoyed this episode with Constance Messmer, we'd like to encourage you to continue your spiritual journey with this next episode.